Hello, my friend, and welcome to the Sales Podcast. I'm Schaeffer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today, we have Miss Allyn Reid. I ran across her online, and what a powerful human being. I had no idea, and I thought I did, from checking out what she's doing online. So you are in for a treat. She's an immigrant from the Philippines. She tells her story of how she didn't even know she was poor growing up. Both in the Philippines and even when she moved to Southern California. And now, because she never really felt poor, she isn't poor. So you need to hear this message. If you would like to hear more messages, if you would like to have regular support, regular interaction in a non-BS, non-hype world, we just launched the private Facebook group called The Implementors. So it's for those that implement, it's for those that mentor, it's for those who are open and willing to being mentored. So theimplementors.com, it will redirect you to our private page. There you can interact with other listeners, other entrepreneurs, other salespeople, business managers, executives to share what's working, get some clarification, understand what really works and what doesn't out there in the real world, all to help you grow. And you'll be among listeners of the show, clients of mine, friends, so real people that are getting stuff done. So come join us. Come hang out. Let's continue the dialogue. Theimplementors.com. Now, let's bring on our guest. Allyn Reid, fellow SoCal entrepreneur. I am so ready for you to woo me on TV. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
Oh, I'm so good. Thank you so much, Wes, for having me here.
How you like the way I rolled that right in, huh?
You're a master.
WooMeTV.com. Oh, yeah, I'm a pro. All right, interview is done. That was just genius. Bam.
One take wonder.
Bam. Get it done. Very nice. So I ran across you online, and you've got your fingers in a lot of little things. It kind of piqued my interest.
Okay.
But for my listeners that may not be familiar with you, would you mind take a minute or two, give us a little thumbnail sketch of who you are and what you do, and then I say we'll dive down the rabbit hole?
Sure. In the past, my previous lifetime, as I call it, I am the co-founder of Secret Knock. It's an entrepreneurial conference that's a must-attend event by Forbes, Inc., or an Entrepreneur magazine. I'm also a publisher of books through my publishing imprint called Schaeffer Press, and currently working on an on-camera personality platform for WooMeTV. Very
nice. Very succinct, very modest of you. All right, well, we're going to dig into that. So get ready to brag. All right. So
okay.
I don't think I heard of Secret Knock. So what's the deal? Do I not have? Oh, I get it. You're very discerning, and you've been keeping me out, huh?
Oh no, not at all. It's actually I find that people kind of make their way to this depending on what they're looking for.
Cool. So tell me about it.
Okay. So Secret Knock was or is a place where people from any and all industries are welcome. And it's basically all about a big network and a big mastermind. We provide great content, unusual content, and then we gather together people like you and I and say, hey, what are you about? What are you working on? And how do we contribute to one another?
So unique content. I mean, I can yodel. So, like, could I be a speaker?
We've had somebody play one of those sleeping guitar things on stage. I mean, you can name anything. It's all welcome there. We've had calligraphers. I mean, we've got everything from science to energy to business, inventors. All of it is all welcome. Stay-at-home moms are welcome. No. Absolutely.
So what's the concept? It sounds almost like a TEDx type event, but more interactive.
There's games, a lot of games. It's a little bit of a cross between like, the Sonny and Cher variety show and TEDx or TED Talks.
Nice. And it's annual?
This year it's annual. Next year, I believe there will be 2 next year. Yeah. And the next one is in March of next year. We just had the other one 2 weeks ago.
Oh, gotcha. Does it move around the country, or is it in the same place?
This year has been the first time it's that it's not in San Diego. It actually was in downtown Los Angeles.
Oh, gotcha. Very cool.
Yeah. And the upcoming one, I don't know. We haven't decided, honestly, where it's going to go.
So how do you evolve or iterate from helping people get into print, creating authors, to doing an event, and then you got the Woomy TV that's coming out. What was your background? I mean, did you study this in school? Were your parents entrepreneurial? How'd you get started?
I say I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, yes, and also people who had to really create their life without having a blueprint. My family came from rural Philippines. There isn't much access to how to be successful books or how to be happy books or how to anything kind of books. So they work without blueprints, and I got to see that firsthand and live it and be it. And honestly, the main compass is the one that you have with yourself. And so, I heard this quote today, if it doesn't bring you joy, it's probably not something you should be doing. You probably shouldn't even take money for it.
Gotcha.
And there was so much of that vein that ran across the history of my family and even myself. And knowing both sides of that, to have accepted money for work that I didn't enjoy and to have accepted money for work I did, So it's all about this inner compass, and it all translates beyond, the heart space or whatever, weird term is for this, into work, into relationships, into prosperity, into health, into wellness, all of it.
Right. So did your parents immigrate here?
Yep. We all did, actually.
Oh, okay. So you were born there in the Philippines.
Yeah. I came here when I was 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it was in the 90s. And, that was another round of starting over. It was a single mom with 3 kids and $100 in our pocket, and that was it.
Oh, so your mom was?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Man. And y'all, well, that's certainly defying the odds, huh?
Yeah, and I believe anyone can defy the odds, truthfully, because if she can, this is the biggest blessing of America. It's truly a place of opportunity and freedom to be who you are, be what you want to be. You don't worry about, to be penalized for being who you are and to express yourself and to make something out of nothing.
Right. Well, more people need to hear that. It feels like America just gets beat up lately.
It does. And it's such a reminder, just have gratitude for that, and so much changes for you, because we are getting beat up on a, global scale or global perspective. And in a way, I think of America as like an adolescent.
Yeah.
Like a 14-year-old, right? Europe's like way over, I don't know how old they are. Asia's the same way. Africa's feeling a little young, although in irony, Africa's like way in age is probably more advanced than we are. But technology and innovation and all that freshness comes out of America.
Right.
At the same time, though, when you're near 13, 14-year-old, it has its moments.
Right. Sure.
It's got moments where it's going to act out. It's going to push boundaries just to see what happens, and
right.
Push it again to see if the same thing happens again, or will it get a different result? These are just trial and error things you go through, and we're going through it in a global economy with all eyes on us. And so we're going through it anyway. Why wouldn't we do it in our personal lives?
Right. So you move here. You're one of 3, you said, with your mom?
I'm sorry, you cut out. One more time?
I'm sorry. So you were one of 3 kids, you said, with your mom?
Mm-hmm.
And you're 10 years old. So you get situated. Was it here in Southern California?
Yes, in Long Beach. Mm-hmm. It was in Long Beach, and there were 7 of us living in like this tiny little room, like a 10 by 12 room.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was that way until I was about 17, while my mom got on her feet.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
How did you find that entrepreneurial bug? Because, I mean, people could use that as an excuse, and say, oh, woe is me. My family's poor. I don't know the language. I'll just, go on welfare and, it's just tough luck.
I have so much respect for the people who essentially paved the way for me to be able to say that. And I just chose not to. I have had my moments in my head where I wanted to say that.
Right.
But at the same time, that would be such a dishonoring of my grandmother, who was a shoe merchant and raised 10 siblings and her own 6 kids. And it was always her dream to come here. And then all of her kids who all wanted to come here just to get out of the little town they were in. So to me, I had it good. I'm in America, I'm in the land of freedom and sunshine, and there's not a typhoon hitting our backyard like every other day. There's not broken trees everywhere. There's not hunger everywhere. It's beautiful. It's clean. There's structure. There's plumbing.
Right.
There's electricity, for crying out loud. So, yeah, I won't say that I didn't have those moments and lived in those moments, but there is that. You witness other people grinding and reminding you that this is big. Your life is bigger than you. Even if you don't know what that means, it's still bigger than you. You don't have to know what that means. You don't have to know how you fit in the big picture. Just know that you take part of it. And at the end of the day, it's like, how did you take part in it? In a big way, a little way, did you bring all of you in it? How is somebody going to launch from the work you've done? Is it possible?
So how
responsibility for someone else? Go ahead.
How did you fight that? The feelings of despair. I had a guy on I interviewed this morning, and Nick Ruiz, and he talked about he built a multi-million-dollar business before 2008 in real estate and lost it all. And he was like, hey, those are some dark days. He's given everything back. He was a hot shot. He was still young, and and it was like his ego was hurt more, or he was personally hurt more by the impact to his ego than the money. Right? He admits there were some dark days, and so I don't like to gloss or skim over those, because people are always going through some type of challenge. So I like to kind of explore that.
Sure.
And say, how did you stay the course? Was it your family? Was it your faith? Did you have a mentor? How'd you stick with it?
Oh, I'd love to say all of those things, but that's just not how it went. No, I don't have mentors. I didn't have all that. Here's what I had. I know, and what I've seen is that fighting something only makes it stronger. So I'm not going to fight the despair. I'm going to feel it. So it's the same vein of you saying, you don't like to gloss over it. Then don't gloss over it. Feel it. Be with it. Trace it. And I trace everything that I feel. And it's usually tracing back into the judgment I have made of myself. So with your friend who built a multi-million-dollar business and lost it all, my best friend did that. When we were young, we were just out of college. I think we were 23 and 24. It was a whirlwind. And it was such a witness to see the self-judgment was so much worse than the actual filing for bankruptcy and losing everything. Whatever goes on in your head is so much worse than everything going outside of it.
Yeah.
And partly because you don't want to feel it. It's like you want to distract yourself from the loss.
Right.
So you judge yourself instead by saying you weren't enough, you didn't do enough, you should have done this, you should have done that. If I could do it again,
Yeah.
And so how would I get out of it is I allowed myself to have that. And if it took a day, it took a day. If it took a month, it took a month. If it took a year, it took a year. But I allowed myself to have it and to work through the practice of not judging myself every time I quote unquote failed. Because when you fail, it's not really doesn't mean that you're off course. Failure is part of the course,
Right.
and you hear that all the time. So, I don't really think anybody really gets on and off the course. It's just.
How do you know that as a teenager, though? I mean, that's pretty wise.
You know what? I just was so isolated as a young kid. Like, I didn't have very many friends. I played mostly by myself or in nature. Like, we had this. We lived in a province, and I think I just didn't have the opportunity or the exposure to buying into other people's stories. So, and what I mean by this, like, I didn't know I was poor. I had no clue. And here's when I realized I was when I was coming to America. So despite the quote unquote poverty we were in, my aunt paid for my siblings and I to go to a nice school in the Philippines. And my mom never let us socialize with our friends. Like, we didn't go over their houses. We didn't do any of that stuff. None of it. And so towards, knowing that we were coming to America and it was time to say goodbye, like the last week of being in the Philippines, she let me go and hang out with my friends. And I went to houses that had maids, like 3 maids, drivers, 3-floor houses, and huge mansions and gated neighborhoods and guards. And I'm like, oh, wow. That was the first time I remember looking around my best friend, her name was Abigail, and looking around her place and saying, I didn't know we were different, because in my story was I played pranks with them. I got in trouble with them. I excelled just like them in the school environment. But because I wasn't really in their homes ever, they weren't in mine. I didn't know we were different.
Right.
I had no idea. In essence, we're still not different. We're all capable of the same thing. I just didn't know that. I never knew there was that story.
Right.
And so I didn't know I was poor until I was like 10 years old, So I just didn't know. And all the stuff that goes with that, I didn't know I was XYZ. I remember having all these realizations, like, I don't have a driver. We didn't even have a car, And they have 3 drivers, 3 maids. Everything was cooked for them and washed for them and all of that. And I had no idea that there was anything different, So how as a teenager, I think I just was by myself so much. I knew what my voice and my spirit sounded and felt like. And whenever it got far away from that, which I had just, a few years of it actually recently, it was just such a shitty feeling that I didn't, sorry about that. It was just that I don't tolerate it. And
Right.
I'll do everything I can until I get that back.
Right. So you realize that, and then you come to America, and that's some cramped quarters. 7 of you in one room.
Yeah. And I still didn't know that's not how people lived. Like, I was just this gullible, like, but I'm in America.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's 7 of us, but we're in America because my grandmother. Wait, was it 6 or 7? My grandmother and my aunt were already here, so we were living with them, and then the 4 of us. So that's 6. Yeah.
Okay.
So we slept on the floor. All our clothes were in that little room. Yeah, good times. It really was good times.
Yeah, it's I've interviewed people that have talked about the building stage and looking back and saying, in a way, it's like the valley is where they want to be, because that's where they feel things and they have a vision and a goal and they're hungry, and then you get to the peak and it's like, okay, is this it? No, I need to climb another peak, which means you got to get into another valley.
And I'm really not a believer of that. I found myself subscribing to that patterning because of the people I was around.
Right.
It seems, especially in the entrepreneurial world, there's a big belief system that you have to fail to succeed, or that your success is just, just on the other side of fear or failure or whatever. And I say, well, why can't you just have more success if you're already successful? Why do you have to destroy yourself first or deconstruct so you can get to your next peak? Like, the peak is right there. You don't need to go, 2 steps back just to go 5 steps forward.
I don't think they were saying they had to destroy anything, but it's like they build something. Okay, great. So I have this. And you see a lot of time, entrepreneurs, I think, you see a lot of times that they want to build, and they're good at building. They're not good at maintaining and the status quo, right? So it's like, I built this venture. I'm either going to sell it or put someone as a CEO, and I'm going to go build something else.
Yes.
Because it's the building that they really enjoy versus just sitting around in a hammock saying, yeah, I made it.
I am definitely in that category. I do enjoy hammocks and being able to say that. But I am definitely the growth mode. I think my bio will say, maintaining things is not really where I'm at. Like, I'm totally out to lunch when it comes to that mode. But growing anything, and it could be a chia pet. It's freaking awesome. So I know this. I know that feeling. I've gone through it a few times. And honestly, most people just don't realize they're in the maintaining stage. So they stop feeling. They stop using the compass. Because when you're growing something, you feel obligated to stay with it because you spent all this time growing with it. And honestly, just be okay letting it go. Like,
right.
Let it go. Trust in your power as a pure creator that you're going to go have more ideas, have more projects, have more inventions, because we're infinite beings. We can create anything and everything we possibly could think of.
Right. So you go to school, you go to college, and then what? Did you go for business or marketing or?
I went to school for psychology and international business. And I actually had 2 jobs while I was in college. And during the breaks, I would have 3. I would work all night. And after college, I worked for, the 2 jobs I had, my junior and senior year, both offered me a full-time position. And I went full-time with one of them. It's a medical device company. And I didn't even last a year. I couldn't do it. For some reason, once it became like an obligation and responsibility to be there every day, I was like, this doesn't feel good. And I love being here, and I've loved being here with you for 3 years, but it was part-time. You worked with me on my schedule and my dreams. And then it just felt like a box all of a sudden when I went full-time, and I just couldn't do it. So, but I lucked out. My boss there took me into entertainment. And after that, we went into another medical device company together. And finally, all this incubation, I somehow knew in the back of my mind, I was just incubating, being in the corporate world. And finally set off to meet my ex-husband, who is the face of Secret Knock. And that's when just before that is when I started the entrepreneurial venture.
So the boss of that company, he did another startup and brought you with him?
No, he ended up going to entertainment, 20th Century Fox, and then after that, we both went to he just kept recruiting me everywhere he went. Because he was a more process-oriented, chief HR officer, and he just saw the entrepreneurial side. I read people accurately. He used to take me to meetings, like C-level meetings, and just let me sit there and observe. And I'd get out. We would get out, and he'd be like, okay, what did you get? And just give him the rundown, like, this is so-and-so's motivation. This one hates you. This one's awesome.
Right.
This one doesn't mean what they say. This one's going to follow through. So we really learned a lot from each other. And I really learned a lot with working with someone who is not like me.
Yeah.
But respected me. And so I was able to have that muscle of doing the same back. He wasn't like me, but we respected each other, and we were able to figure out how to work together.
So was that your psychology background that helped?
You know, I guess so. I mean, looking back, it's one of those, I'd never subscribed to the stories. I just didn't know what story he was in. I didn't know about, you know, someone who's more process-oriented versus someone who's more entrepreneurial. Like, I don't know the difference.
Well, I mean...
To me, everyone just works.
Yeah, I mean, like going into the meetings and being able to read people.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, that wasn't a real job. It's like, oh, okay. And,
so you just had kind of an innate ability to pick up on, you know, somebody's intentions or you know, what they were hiding, maybe holding back?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. To me, it's what people say or don't say, rather, is actually quite loud.
Right. Even
louder than the actions.
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, I've had guests on, you know, body language experts. Mm-hmm. Ian Rowland's still one of the top downloads, and he has a book on cold reading. He teaches people, I mean, even governments and government entities on cold reading, and he basically dispels. And he worked in entertainment for years. He said, "Look, I'm not a psychic. I'm not a medium. I don't have any special powers.
Amen.
I'm just leading you where you want to go, and I'm picking up on it."
Amen.
And I'm obviously not as good as him, but I've been a good reader of people. And so, like, do you ever watch this show? You ever watch Shark Tank?
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the few we can watch as a family, right? And and I'm usually pretty good on as soon as they start, like, A, will they even get a deal? And then as the deal's negotiating, it's like, yeah, you know, Herkovic or whatever, he's going to drop out. They're going to go with, you know, Cuban, and they're going to haggle. They're going to accept that. And I can just, and my kids are like amazed. How do you know? And it's like, look at their body language. Like, it's so, you can just see how they turn, how they pause, how they look at each other, how they fidget with their hands. I mean, it's all right there if you're looking for it.
Amen. And you know what? Children also know, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I find children are the best. Like, they just ping people, like, right on. And they have no filter, so they actually just say it. You and I will keep it to ourselves as mental notes. They'll just say it out loud, you know. And it does sound crazy when they say it, but if you actually look at it without the crazy filter, you're like, wow, they're kind of on point. But they know, you know, whenever a kid asks me, how do you know? I'm like, you know the same as I know.
Right.
You know, tap in. Yep. You've got this. Everyone is a natural genius. And I agree with your friend, Ian. Like, I'm not a psychic. I have no special powers. I don't call them special powers or superpowers. I think, you know, as my friend Brock would say, everybody's got natural genius. That's all this is.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, and you just, you recognize it and you used it, huh?
That's it. Exactly. Yeah. And honestly, I am so grateful for the people who used to mirror me, because I didn't know all this stuff until somebody said, did you know you're doing this? Did you know you're doing this? Yeah. If you really want to be a gift to someone, just to like contribute to someone, just get on a 10-minute phone call and just say, do you know that you do this? Did you know that when you do XYZ, you're actually doing ABC?
Well, but
a lot of people don't know what they do. Like, there's nobody to tell them to say, oh, that's what that is. And people are searching constantly for how to do something, how to create resonance, how to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know, you're not as disconnected as you think you are.
Right.
It's just a matter of recognizing what you already do. And that's your baseline.
So how did you get into publishing books or helping people get published? I mean, it seems like you got your fingers in a lot of pies.
So funny. To me, it's one huge pie of assisting people, bringing their brilliance out of them and into masses, right? And I just really enjoy amplifying people. If somebody knows they've got a rocket, and they need to launch, I can be the foundation that they can go in and out of. And the publishing thing was a natural move in the sense that I read constantly. Before I had a child, I would read almost 1,000 books a year. I think one year I hit 1,200 books.
What?
Yeah. I'm down to like a measly $100 a year probably now. I got to pull up my Amazon account. See how I'm doing, but
Amazon loves you, huh?
Oh yes, and so do the libraries because a lot of those books go to them every year.
Good.
But yeah, Amazon for best friends. We're best friends. So books, I read so much. It only made sense to produce a book, and it's just a matter of hearing someone out. See what they're about, how this thing fits in their big picture, the impact they want to make, and just be a facilitator of that.
Right.
That's it.
But it's one thing to write a book. It's another thing to leverage the book into something meaningful. So do you help your clients, launch and build a platform with that book?
Mm-hmm. I actually advise them. I've just seen all the book reindeer games, right? I've seen the best ones, the trendy ones, the unusual ones, and I give it all to them. And at the end of the day, I find that people have to go with their gut when it comes to marketing, because there are a lot of how-tos out there, but you're just going to have this unusual idea. And I'd really advise that you do it, because all the how-tos and the step-by-step stuff will always be there. You can always go back to it.
Right.
But try that one idea, because it's so unique to you. You don't have it for just cause, for not a reason. There's a reason you have that idea. And this is something I advise, people to do, and I actually apply for myself. Like when you're creating something, a book, a movie, a product, an invention, just ask it, like, how do you want to get into the world? How do you want to be seen? How do you want to make your way out there? And just listen for the ideas. There's no answer. You're not supposed to be the one to come up with the answer. You're just supposed to feel the energy of that question. And when you get a phone call that feels like that feeling of when you ask that question, even though you don't know who this person is or what they want from you, you just say, this has something to do with that, so I'm going to take this call.
Right.
And that's literally how I work, what I just described to you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I get up and I'm like, so-and-so is in my head today. I wonder what that's about, and go call them.
Right. So you listen to your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you find, and I do this, if I find myself deliberating, should I do this, should I not, my head is in the way. So turn off your brain. Turn off your brain. Not when you drive, but just, turn off your brain. If you find yourself deliberating, you just detach from your source, which is you. You are the source. You are the cause. You are the effect.
Right.
You are the source. So.
Right. Do you approach that from like a religious standpoint? Is it more just holistic, in general, or do you, or is it like steeped in religion and a faith?
I think it's just for me steeped on whether I see it work over and over. Mm-hmm. And so, and I'm not saying that the how-tos don't work. I think a lot of how-tos work. And you just need to watch out for the feeling that says this will work. Don't assume a how-to will work, because if you have if you're having like what's the flatline, the heart monitor, if it's flatlining, if the how-to book you're reading is flatlining on you, you just get a flatline, it's not going to work for you.
Right.
If maybe parts of it, you're like, ooh, take those.
Right. Yeah, that's what I tell people. Like at conferences, I'll see them out and about. And I remember, I think it was last year, I spoke at 4 or 5 in a row, and I would see the same people at every one. Mm-hmm. And, I'm saying, I'm going to this for free. My travel's paid for. That's why I'm here. Mm-hmm. It's like these people are paying $15,000, $20,000, to go from conference to conference to conference, and they're out of work, missing time. And I'm like, did you implement anything from the first conference, and if not, why are you at this 5th one, in 4 months? It's like, if something resonates, walk out of the room and go implement.
Amen. Resonate. And how about people who just go to events without even touching base, whether it even resonates?
Yeah. Yeah, they just go. And
on autopilot.
Take action, take massive action.
Yeah. But action that doesn't have any point or any resonance is just busy work.
True. I'm saying when that message speaks to you, right? It's like, whoa, I'm not doing that in my business. Get up, go back to your room, and go do that. Maybe that's the only reason you were supposed to be at that conference. Oh no, there's 2 more days left. I've got all the schedule, and I've got to go hear this person talk and that person talk, and I'm gonna buy all the notes. And oh, good grief!
You know what? That's something I learned with reading so much. It takes a lot of time to read, right? And when you go to conferences and you think of it like a roulette game or a slot machine, like time as a slot machine, and when you're hitting a good like you're on a roll.
Yeah.
You stop, right? Because you ride your win. You ride your win. I mean, honestly, this is what I've learned to do because I'm a little bit of an addict for information and books. And so when I feel like I'm just like, oh my God, insight, I'm like, oh, stop. I have to stop now because I'm winning.
Yeah. Take your money. Yeah. Cash out while you're ahead. Huh?
Cash out. Do something with it. Take the insights you got, cash out, do something with it.
Very cool. Well, we got a few minutes left, and I do want to talk about this Woo Me TV because this is that'll be launching right around the time we go live with this episode. So, what's the magic behind that?
Oh man, you know what? It's really about turning all the knowledge into usable, implementable superpowers, natural genius, just activating people, turning people on to themselves. And I've synthesized so many disciplines and modalities out there and scrubbed the jargon so that you don't have to go back into 4 years of anything and say, all right, you want to learn about, let's see, chakra systems, Cliff's Notes, here you go.
Right.
If you're like usually a creative person and you're a little stuck, it's probably in your body too. Let's help that. And so it's just like Cliff's Notes on life. It's actually Woo Me TV. It's as from earlier today, there's no linear path to anywhere I've been. Technically, I should be in child trafficking. Right, coming from Southeast Asia, Philippines and Southeast Asia,
right,
and poverty. That's technically the linear path. If we did the linear path, that's not where I am today. That's
right.
Not where anybody has to be today, and it's really just being and acknowledging that everyone here is a spiritual being in a material world, and integrating both sides. The consciousness, the capitalism, that all works together. It's not outside of each other.
Right.
It's not next to each other. It's actually ebb and flowing of each other.
Right.
And it's the interaction of the two, the reality and what's out there,
Right.
And so that's what it's about. This was prompted because of my on-camera personality, like TV presenting work. And so you'll be seeing me doing features of people who are magic in motion, constantly creating in their lives. A lot of information. I've got something there called the Wooniverse. And basically it's the universe as you've been told it to be, plus the stuff they never taught you in school that you wish you knew.
Oh, come on. They teach us everything in school.
Oh, yeah, of course. School is really great with making us, think linearly,
Right.
and in processing and how to think and what to think, right?
Yeah.
And the third thing that's going to be on there are personal revolution blueprints. Essentially, I'm on all for using books as mentors, read a lot of books. But you know what? I'm at this point where it's like, read it once, then give it away, toss it out. Because every path is different. Just because there is a path to success, to happiness, to prosperity, does not mean that's the path you're supposed to be on.
Right.
And these blueprints, essentially, you make your own. But when you go through the worksheets, the videos, and you print it out, you're like, holy crap, this is my own path.
Right.
These are the steps I take, and it's unique to you. No one person is going to have the exact same path as you, and it's something that is based on your own vision, how to even come up with a vision, how to even dream again. We've been taught how to dream. That's so sad.
We have been taught how to dream, or we need to be taught how to dream?
We have been taught how to dream. Absolutely. And I just want to get people back to an Etch-a-Sketch. Like as if we were just newborn again and you didn't know a house was valuable and a car was valuable. You didn't know money was valuable.
Right.
How would you make life?
Yeah, but you're kind of saying like we've been told what we should dream about.
Yeah.
Like you should dream about owning a Lamborghini. That proves that you're rich.
You should dream about traveling the world, and therefore when you travel the world, you need X, Y, Z. All of that stuff.
Right.
So the how to dream is the how of it is also, we've been taught what that is.
Right.
And it's for the everyday person. I created this for my sister. My sister is so curious about how the universe works. But she's an entrepreneur. She is a hustler. She doesn't have time to go to events.
Right.
She doesn't have time to go read Tony Robbins books, she doesn't have time for any of that.
Right.
And so she's been an amazing pacemaker for me, if you will.
Right.
This worked for you. Will this not work for you? Because it really would like for it to be geared for the entrepreneur who's just, despite you having turned all the stones there is, you just feel the need to keep going still.
Right. And that's Woo Me TV.
Yep. Amen.
Very nice. Well, I will link to all that. Secret Knock, Radical Business School, Woo Me TV, Sherpa Press. Man, and I got a feeling you're just getting started.
I actually am, and I'm so stoked. And if there's anything that I could contribute to you at all, and if there's any questions your audience or readers have, be happy to address them. And yeah, just keep me posted on where you're going and where this needs to go next, and would be so glad to support it. All
right. Sounds good. So Miss Allyn Reid, it's Allyn for everybody listening, so that Y lets you know it's not a dude, right? Allyn Reid, thanks for coming on the Sales Podcast, and glad to be a SoCal neighbor with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Wes, and thank you for having me here.
All
Talk
right.
to you
Have
soon.
a great day.
Bye.
If it doesn't bring you joy, you probably shouldn't do it. I agree for the most part with that. Sometimes you do have to plow through things, but yes, if it's not bringing you joy, figure out how to outsource it, right? Create a system for it, a process, see if you can automate it or sub it out, hire it out. But I loved her approach to really everything, how she embraced the issue, right? She didn't run away from it. Because what she say, if whatever you fight gets stronger, so she would just sit there and be present with it and understand it and trace it. I mean, I thought that was so powerful. And I talked about it with other guests that I've had. I mean, right after that, it was impactful, and it still sits with me, and it's going to stay with me. I love how, she was just really open about everything. Don't fall into the self-judgment. We all make mistakes. Man, everybody that I work with and I see behind the scenes, they're having issues with something. And even the super successful people I've had on making a lot of money, they've been very open and honest about the issues they've gone through. So don't go hard on yourself, right? And we're always our own toughest critic. So understand that falls and scrapes and bruises are part of growth. I'm recording this right now, 3:44 p.m., and so in 2 hours, 15 minutes, some little dude is going to be squashing me. And is that failure because some little dude beat me? Or is it success because while I'm out there growing and learning and getting in better shape, building friendships and relationships, somebody else is sitting on their couch eating potato chips, yelling at the news, right? Screaming about mainstream media and fake news and alternative facts and alt-right and fascist whatever and neocons. I mean, good grief. Really? I'd rather go, quote unquote, fail on the jiu-jitsu mat and get ahead of everybody else drinking beer, numbing themselves with fast food and junk food on the couch. So stop beating yourself up. Come to jiu-jitsu. We'll beat you up. We won't even charge you for the first week. How about them apples? So, like I said, in all these episodes, go back and listen again, right? We are infinite beings. We can create anything. She had 2 jobs in college, 3 during her breaks. She got after it. So if you're not where you want to be, you're probably not working hard enough, and you're probably not working smart enough. So work smart and work hard to really get ahead, to really make strides. You know, life's not all about hanging out. We were put on this earth to work. Now, we're not put on this earth to grind, right? Not to work ourselves to the bone, but we are put on this earth to produce. God even worked 6 days, right? He took the 7th off. So give yourself some time off, but make sure you earn it. Deal? Thanks for listening. Please be sure to join us. Let's continue the conversation. theimplementors.com for those that implement, for those that mentor, for those that are open to receiving mentorship. theimplementors.com. Come hang out with us. Thanks for listening. And as always, remember to sell different.